Hi, this is Roslyn from A Little R&R, and I just wanted to share with you something really exciting that I saw in the Word this week while I was reading in Psalms. I was reading in Psalm 6, and let's just take a look at that really quick. Psalm 6, this is a psalm where David is repenting, and I actually tried to do a little bit of digging around to see what it was that he was, what it was that he did. And I wasn't able to find anything, but it really doesn't matter. He just says, "O Lord, do not rebuke me in your anger, do not chasten me in your hot displeasure. Have mercy, O Lord, for I am weak. Lord, heal me, for my bones are troubled. My soul is greatly troubled, but you, O Lord, how long?" And then he goes on and says, "I am weary with my groaning all night. I make my bed swim. I drench my couch with tears. My eyes waste away because of my grief. It grows old because of all of my enemies." So you can see that David here is very distressed, and he is repenting. It says, "Do not rebuke me in your anger," and so God must have been angry about him, with him about something. And so, as I was reflecting on that, I remembered Matthew 5. And you might be thinking, that's kind of weird. Why would you remember Matthew 5? But what's crazy is, as I was reflecting on Matthew 5, and, as a teenager, I memorized the whole Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5, 6, and 7, which is a whole lot of verses. So I am very familiar with Matthew 5, but as I was reflecting on it, I realized something I had never seen before. And so I just can't wait to share it with you. So it says, starting in verse 3, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." This is probably very familiar to you, but, stick with me. "Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the sons of God." And I think most of us are probably familiar with that passage, the Beatitudes. But what I had never seen before was that these Beatitudes go in sequential order. You cannot be pure in heart if you have not recognized that you are poor in spirit. What does it mean to be poor in spirit? Poor in spirit is recognizing our spiritual bankruptcy before God. That, apart from Him, there is no way that we could ever atone for our sin. We are completely at the mercy of God. We have nothing apart from God. We don't even have our next breath apart from God. Our poverty before God is immense. And so when we recognize our spiritual bankruptcy, when we recognize our poverty apart from God, then ours is the kingdom of heaven. And when we come to understanding that apart from Almighty God, I don't even have my next breath, then we recognize the weight of our sin. And when it says here, "Blessed are those who mourn," this is not just any kind of mourning. This is not somebody mourning their dog that passed away. This is not somebody that's mourning the loss of a friendship. This is a mourning that is directly connected with sin. And so when we realize the weight of our sin, and that weight of our sin begins to weigh down on us like it did with David in Psalm 6, then we begin to mourn. And that mourning, like what we saw in Psalm 6, David soaked his bed with his tears. Mourning must be accompanied with emotion. It must. Just like love must show some sort of emotion, mourning must also show some sort of emotion. And so, those who mourn, they will be comforted. They will be comforted by God. God will come and comfort them. He'll comfort them with His forgiveness, with His grace, with His mercy. And when we have received that comfort, then we realize, when we realize the depths of our sin, our spiritual bankruptcy, the weight of our sin, and we receive the mercy of God, we're humbled. We become meek. We realize, sin is a serious thing. It is very serious. We have that strength of character, but we also have a mercy and a humility that comes alongside of it. That is exactly what meekness is. Meekness is strength and humility, a perfect mix of strength and humility. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. See, this goes in sequential order. Then we begin to hunger. We begin to thirst for righteousness. We begin to hunger and thirst for God and His Word. And that leads us to, as we are filled with the Word, we become merciful. We gain a greater understanding of the mercy and the grace of God, and that leads us to purity of heart, which leads us to becoming peacemakers. It's all sequential. It follows in a sequential order. You cannot be pure in heart. You will not be merciful if you have not recognized the depth of your sin and the greater depth of God's grace. You can't understand mercy if you have not experienced mercy and grace. And so I was really excited about this. I couldn't wait to share it with you, because it's always so much fun when you read a familiar passage and you gain something new from that. But see, this is it. The Bible, that's why it says that the Word is living. It is living and is powerful. It is living because it is ever deepening. It is ever widening. But it is never changing.